Recorded live at Talks and Tasting Studios, it's the Clerical Errors Podcast, the podcast that shows you what's behind the collar. Let's go.
From the Talks and Tasting Studios, this is the Clerical Errors Podcast, the podcast that shows you
what's behind the collar.
This is Bullhagen.
This is Vicar. This
Peter's
is
here?
Peter.
Hey, Pete. You threw me there.
Well, you guys are going so fast, I feel like I had to be right there, you know?
Yeah, we're fired up today, man. Let's go. You fired up, Vicar?
Mm-hmm.
All right, let's go.
Oh, yeah.
Let's go. So you're in the full swing of Lent now, kind of?
Sorta, yeah.
You got your first midweek service tomorrow. As recording, though, as you're listening, it'll be done, but
Already happened.
yeah. So, unless unforeseen tragedy, which would make this podcast hilarious, wouldn't it? But, yeah. You okay, Vicar?
Unforeseen tragedy that would make this hilarious.
Yeah. I know. I think weird. We got a lot of, actually, I'm very happy because we got some things from the mailbag. We got people who care enough to email. Although, what's the rule, Peter?
No crying in sheep's head.
No. Well, that is the rule, but not for the podcast. I always said that I prefer angry letters. The idea of people writing it down, putting in an envelope, writing the address, putting a stamp on it, and mailing it to us just would bring joy to my heart.
Yeah, no hate mail yet.
Right. See, letters, Vicar, is when people would actually write things down, and then they would put it in an envelope, and it was very
crazy. You can't have AI just do that for you?
No. It was a time before email, really.
So
my first year of college, I did all my papers on a typewriter.
So,
random.
You went to seminary with Luther?
Not
Luther
that
wishes
Gutenberg
he had a
machine.
typewriter.
I had a typewriter. So I got a lot of questions, right? I got a top 5 questions because I ran out of time. Usually I have 6 minutes to work on my speed top 12 list. I only had 3 minutes to work on it. So I only got a top 5 speed round.
Peter, play the intro.
Enough nonsense. It's time for Bullhagen's Top
5.
So we had a question from an emailer about tobacco use. Is it a sin or is it not a sin? Right? And one of the things I was thinking about with that question is sometimes people say, well, if God didn't want us to smoke cigars, why did he create the tobacco plan? Right? So I have 5 other options of why this reasoning is not maybe so good.
Number 5.
Number 5, if God didn't want us to use heroin, why did he create the poppy seed?
Number 4.
If God didn't want us to go over Niagara in a barrel, why did he create that beautiful waterfall?
Number 3.
If God didn't want us to drink Arcola whiskey, why did he create Berg?
Number 2.
If God didn't want us to enjoy tater tots, why did he give us tater tot farms?
Number 1.
If God didn't want us to have digestive issues, why did he allow Taco Bell? That's as far as I got. I mean, that might be, I could, as I think about that, if I only had another 4 minutes, but that's all right.
Yeah.
You don't want me to go finish it, do you, Vic or Peter? I could just go do that right now, give me 4 minutes.
You want to just workshop it? You want to come up with a few more?
All right.
We don't have to finish the list. We could just workshop. We can come up with a few right now, for sure.
All right.
If God didn't want you to drive drunk, then why did you find your keys in your pocket? Yeah.
There you go.
Hey, it's not the drunk drivers that are the problem. It's the drunk trashers.
The
drunk crashers that give us that bad name, come on, man.
How about if God didn't want us to have tattoos, why did he create low self-esteem?
If God didn't want me to play the lottery, why does the Powerball get over $1 billion so often?
If God didn't want me to be frustrated, why did he create Vickers?
We are a joy and a bliss. If God didn't want me to throw up in my mouth, why did he let Vickers write sermons?
Now, come on, they're good. That says something about me because I approve them. Peter.
I'm not preaching under my own authority.
You don't approve the first draft.
Yeah.
That's
I
fair.
do remember one time at a supervisors conference, the discussion was about preaching and how the pastor was talking about how, I just want him to just come from the heart and speak, and he can only have his Bible in the pulpit, And I was on the same panel. I said, well, I would rather not be sitting listening to the vicar's sermon with my fingers crossed. And he's like, oh. I can't believe I said that. I don't know. All right, we need a few more.
If God didn't want me to drive my V8 Cadillac, how come there's so much oil in the ground?
Okay.
It's true.
I think let's table this. We're kind of
You're
crashing
right.
and
This is getting
burning.
bad.
This is getting bad. Right. I don't know. All right. Vicar, what are we preaching on?
Our Old Testament reading is from Genesis chapter 32, verses 22 through 32. The same night he arose and took his 2 wives, his 2 female servants, and his 11 children, and crossed the ford of the Jabbok. And he took them and sent them across the stream and everything else that he had. And Jacob was left alone. And a man wrestled with him until the breaking of the day. When the man saw that he did not prevail against Jacob, he touched his hip socket, and Jacob's hip was put out of joint as he wrestled with him. Then he said, "Let me go, for the day has broken." But Jacob said, "I will not let you go unless you bless me." And he said, "What is your name?" And he said, "Jacob." Then he said, "Your name shall no longer be called Jacob, but Israel. For you have striven with God and with men, and have prevailed." Then Jacob asked him, "Please tell me your name." But he said, "Why is it that you ask my name?" And there he blessed him. So Jacob called the name of the place Peniel, saying, "For I have seen God face to face, and yet my life has been delivered." The sun rose upon him as he passed Penuel, limping because of his hip. Therefore to this day the people of Israel do not eat the sinew of the thigh that is on the hip socket, because he touched the socket of Jacob's hip on the sinew of the thigh.
All right. Obviously a very popular text in Iowa, right?
Mm-hmm.
Especially it's kind of funny. This text a lot of times comes right around the state tournament of wrestling. It's kind of a big deal here. So, but I like this text, right? I like how, like, 2 dudes, they kind of just meet up. What's their first reaction? Hey, you want to wrestle?
I did always wonder about that as a kid.
Yeah. Actually, I could understand this because I have had this discussion with my family before. What is it, Peter? Maybe you have been around for these. One thing I've never had that I've always wanted to is a good fist fight, like a justified, righteous fist fight where it was okay for me to do without going to jail. Am I wrong, Peter? Have you ever? I've never been in a proper fight, really.
I don't think you've ever told me that specifically, but I've known that you wanted to do it.
Yeah. Actually, this is a true story. Okay. I'm in a mood. I'm going to tell a story. Gather round to Father Bullhagen here. I'm going to tell a story. So I was driving in a city north of here, about 30 miles. Okay. And it was a nice, beautiful spring day. Now I was in between visits. I had to pick something up at the store. And I hear this guy in a motorcycle, right? Kind of honking his horn and kind of weaving in and out of traffic. Okay, so apparently he didn't like how quickly I turned. He said he had to slam on the brakes or something, right? So he started honking and waving at me. And the truth, okay, I just waved at him. He thought that I had given him the Hawaiian peace sign, right? I am on the phone with my lovely bride, which is probably good for me, okay? So I am in my car. He follows me into the parking lot, okay? And he gets off his motorcycle, and he wanted to fight, right? And I had my collar on, right? And I would, first of all, okay, Vicar, who would have won that fight? Let's be honest.
I haven't seen him, but he'd have to be pretty big.
Yeah. Yeah. No, there's no possible way. And I just think, man, that would have been a story for him. Like, how did you get a black eye? Well, a pastor in his clerical collar beat me up in a Kohl's parking lot. Imagine going home to tell your wife, like the story you would tell, and then all of a sudden she found out, oh, you tried to beat up a pastor?
A man of the Lord beat me up.
But I resisted the temptation, right? Because my wife was on the phone. I resisted the temptation. No, I wasn't going to. But I always think that was my chance.
Well, what? So did you get out of the car? Like, what happened after that?
I said
He wanted to fight with you, and you got out of the car. You puffed up real good, right?
Yeah, you've seen my face that, like, if I'm really upset and puffed up, I can be kind of scary.
Mm-hmm.
Right? So I just kept my hands, because I was still in my car, and he came up to my window, right? So I said, I don't want any trouble. Please step away from the vehicle. And he wound up. Okay, but this is a part you have to take out. All right, take that out. So, Vicar, I told the rest of the story. The poor audience didn't hear the whole thing, right? What, without saying how the rest of the story ended, we'll just leave that to the imagination of the listener. What have you learned about being a pastor?
Means that
Okay. So we should, before we go, we should be very clear that there was no fight and nobody got beaten up. Okay,
Right.
We cut out a lot here because to protect the innocent.
nothing illegal or immoral happened.
Nothing illegal or immoral happened, and this is not a scandal. I promise you.
Because I repeat, my wife was on the phone. All right, so Vicar, what do you think? What have you learned about being a pastor from my story?
Means that you can't let your emotions take control. You have to be able to control your impulse.
That is correct. No matter how much you want to wrestle. All right. So getting back to the text. I basically have my sermon already written. It's something I know about. I can use that example. All right. No, this is something in Iowa where I must never use an example about wrestling like I know wrestling, because I would get destroyed. I would make people mad. People would maybe walk out if I tried to describe wrestling, because I've been to wrestling matches out here, and I don't know, all of a sudden everyone gets excited and gets mad and starts screaming, and I'm like, what happened? What did I miss?
I did not realize how big of a deal it is in Iowa until I got here. Like, I had no idea it was that big of a deal in Iowa.
I would say it might be our state sport. What do you think, Peter?
Yeah, I mean, the problem is for Iowa is that there's no professional baseball team, there's no professional football team, there's no professional basketball team.
Well, yeah, I mean, there's the Iowa
What are you
Bulls.
gonna do? Those are semi-pro.
Sure. Anyways, so back to the text, Vicar. All right, so here you have Israel. Now, one thing that I do understand, right? You have 2 wives, 11 children, and you're traveling. I would want to wrestle someone, right?
It's fair.
I mean, 4 kids in a minivan was enough for me, right? Peter's been there. So, getting back to the text. I mean, this is what Israel means, right? And which is kind of a clue to how they will continue to be a wrestling with God and lived. And do you believe this is a pre-incarnational visit of Christ?
Yeah, something to that effect. I do believe it is Christ in some sort of pre.
By the way, this also reminds me of our old dog, Sydney, the OG dog of our house. And that we had Peter's 2 younger brothers. They would play tug of war. And the older one, the dog, Sydney, would just have this death match sound to him, right? When they were playing tug of war and was really trying to win. And then the younger brother would grab the little rope thing and the dog would go, grrr, and like it was pretending to play tug of war with the little one. It was so adorable.
This is true. This actually did happen.
And then you'd pass it over to the other son. You're like, it was like, okay, I'm winning this.
Immediately
and then
switch flipped.
And then you give it to them and you go, grrr, and then like just tug at it a little bit. That's how they were wrestling. The second. What do you got, Vicar? I'm in a mood. I don't know how much further I can get with that.
You keep giving us some stories.
Right. Yes. This was brought to you by ADHD. Focus, Vicar.
ADHD.
Give me something on this text.
It's in the game.
Focus on this text, Vicar. Give me something.
I heard somewhere that maybe he started wrestling because he thought it might be Esau. But like, some people I think have said that he's like, because we were asking why does he start wrestling with him out of the blue, and I think some people have said, well, he might have thought it was Esau, because at this point he's going back to the land, and Esau's still there, and Esau wants to kill him. So
yeah, but that's guessing though. That's what I don't like about it.
I know I'm not wedded to it, but that's kind of what The
point is they wrestled.
Yeah. So
I'm not a huge fan of like the guessing thing. So give me something else, Vicar.
It says that he has striven with God and with men and have prevailed. So it's kind of interesting there that not only has he striven with God and prevailed, which is fascinating enough, it says he's also striven with men and has prevailed. So
okay. They got something there. That's some Christology there, because you have Jesus, both fully God and fully man, who wrestled with it for us.
Mm-hmm.
Very good. And the reason why this would be, I think, in this Sunday's text is because of the gospel reading where the woman wrestles with God in a different way. We'll get to that in a little bit. So let's move on to the epistle lesson. Good job, Vicar. I'm proud of you.
Thanks.
I won't wrestle you. I don't have a reason for a justified fist fight here. That'd be amazing. Don't push me.
Even though
don't push me, bro.
I'm your go-to. Like you're saying, if you're sinning, you're punching me in the neck.
Right.
So.
Why is that? Let's talk about this. For some reason, right? When I'm thinking of a random sin, and you've heard this a few times, right? Like of repentance, and the example I've been giving for I don't know why is, let's say I have trouble punching Vicar in the neck. I don't know how you feel about that. You want me to stop doing that?
I don't have a problem with it, but I can testify. This is like many times. This has been probably a dozen times.
Right. It's like a mental glitch. Like my go-to sin.
I feel like there's got to be something subliminal there.
Right.
It's like, man, I really don't like that Vicar's preaching.
No.
Punch him in the neck.
How do you, I mean, most people, their necks aren't that long. Like you could do like a karate chop in the neck, but like a punch in the neck, I feel like you're going to hit the jaw or you're going to hit the shoulder before you hit the neck, right?
Right. Well,
Unless
think
you're going like straight up in under the chin.
Well, I think Vicar's beard is probably like a subliminal protection. Like, I've got to protect my neck from this guy.
That's exactly right. We found it out.
Figured it out.
Subliminal neck protection. Peter, make that the title of this episode.
Right. If God didn't want me to punch you in the neck, why'd you... All right. So, let's go to the epistle.
Your neck looks so punchable.
What has gotten into us, Vicar?
I don't know.
It sounds like we've been partaking in an herb that God created, but we haven't.
Has anyone ever told you you have a very punchable neck?
You don't take offense at that. I would. You'd be honest with me, right? You'd be honest with me.
No, I don't care at all. It's just
Okay.
it's interesting how many times you've gone to that.
Right.
It sounds like like you have permission. You can punch him in the neck. It's not a sin anymore.
No, because it's about you. You always seem to bring it up in terms of repentance, right?
Mhm. It always ends in a good place, but it always strikes everybody. It's like, why do you want to punch Vicar in the neck?
Yeah, it's not that I want to. I think it is that
He drives me to do it. It's his fault.
well, a part of it is too. Like, so all right, gather around, listen to Pastor Carl Bullhagen here. A moment.
This is so stupid.
I've been analyzing myself why it is. Okay, I think I have it right.
Okay.
So when you're a pastor, right, and you know people, you start to know people, right?
Mhm.
You get so afraid that you're going to mention something sensitive to someone because you know so many scenarios of everyone that you're
Sure.
like, you want to create an example where people are going to be touchy about and they'll actually listen to your point.
Yeah, you can't say like anything else has a story that somebody had.
And
Nobody's ever been punched in the neck.
right. Because I don't want them to focus. I don't want them to focus on like, oh,
Mm-hmm.
because there's
Just like
times to talk
Mary
about
Sue.
those things too. I want to talk about repentance, and so I try to talk about a sin that is so random that. All right, epistle reading, Vicar.
The epistle is from 1 Thessalonians chapter 4, verses 1 through 7. Finally then, brothers, we ask and urge you in the Lord Jesus that as you received from us how you ought to live and to please God, just as you are doing, that you do so more and more. For you know what instructions we gave you through the Lord Jesus. For this is the will of God, your sanctification, that you abstain from sexual immorality, that each one of you know how to control his own body in holiness and honor, not in the passion of lust like the Gentiles, who do not know God, that no one transgresses and wrongs his brother in this matter, because the Lord is an avenger in all these things, as we told you beforehand and solemnly warned you. For God has not called us for impurity, but holiness.
All right. By the way, this is an option. The other option is Romans 5, which deals with suffering. Since we have been justified by faith, we have peace with God, and then it has the peace. Suffering produces character. Character. I don't have all that passage, and I just thought for Lent, we need to have some of these texts with a little more teeth to it when it comes to that. It always gives me a chance then to, because it applies to everyone, and everyone needs to hear that. And it gives you an opportunity to talk about those things a little bit as well. So it is important to have that one there, and because the other text, like the gospel reading, gives you a chance to talk about suffering from that angle too. So for Lent, I liked this one. It seems to have a little more teeth to it. What do you think, Vicar?
I think so, because you're calling out very specific sins and calling for repentance for those things, so I agree.
Yeah. Right. So yeah, that gives you an opportunity. And you see here, it talks about calling and examining and seeing this is not what you were called to. So it gives you a chance for that to be mentioned in a sermon and to have an opportunity to talk about those things. So that's why I wanted in there. Whether I obviously haven't written my sermon yet, whether how much I'll talk about that, I'm not sure. But I have the opportunity to do it. And if I don't, it's there that people can still hear it. So, All right, let's go to the gospel reading.
The Holy Gospel is from Matthew chapter 15, verses 21 through 28. Jesus went away from there and withdrew to the district of Tyre and Sidon. and behold, a Canaanite woman from that region came out and was crying, "Have mercy on me, O Lord, Son of David. My daughter is severely oppressed by a demon." But he did not answer her a word. And his disciples came and begged him, saying, "Send her away, for she is crying out after us." He answered, "I was sent only to the lost sheep of the house of Israel." But she came and knelt before him, saying, "Lord, help me." And he answered, "It is not right to take the children's bread and throw it to the dogs." She said, "Yes, Lord, yet even the dogs eat the crumbs that fall from their master's table." Then Jesus answered her, "O woman, great is your faith. Be it done for you as you desire." And her daughter was healed instantly.
All right. Good text. There's a lot here, Vicar. So, question number 1 to you, Vicar. Did Jesus drive out the demon of the woman's daughter, the Canaanite woman's daughter, because she was clever?
No.
No. It's about faith. Right. And here we see what is faith, holding God to his promises when it doesn't look like that, right? I kind of worded actually this in a sermon. I don't know if you like that language where I mentioned that hold God accountable for his promises.
Mm-hmm.
This is what you promised. And that's kind of what she does there.
Mm-hmm.
And that's beautiful. This is also in a great text because everyone in the church has someone they're worried about, right? And when you see possessed by a demon, right, that is spiritual too, right? Drive out this demon of my daughter. Certainly this is a wonderful text for people to pray for their loved ones or friends or family that they care about, to say, he does hear my prayer and he can deliver them. And that is, and you notice how she kept on having to do it, right? It doesn't mean that God doesn't listen. He still hears. And that's a very important part, I think, that application that is good for many people to hear. Because I can tell you that most people's pain on church that they face is because of those reasons. So I do believe that's an important part of the text. But ultimately, this shows faith that holds Jesus to his promises when it doesn't look like it is a possibility, and trusting in who Jesus is, which is what she does. Mm-hmm. And the fact that Jesus commends her for her faith, a Canaanite woman, and Jesus actually making a point. I think, I got to the speculation, right? Yeah. Obviously, Jesus knew of this faith before she said all of that, right?
Right.
It would make sense that this really, in this drawn out conversation, well, one is for her to make her stronger and to show her the value of persistence. We wouldn't call that tempting. We would call that testing, right? Mm-hmm. So that's one thing that he does, that we likewise go through times where we are given things that we'd rather not have to deal with, by which God leads us to call upon faith in him when we don't see the answer and the way out. But also, this is something, as Jesus comments on her faith, that says something about the unlikely place, that where faith is found, and in her desperate need, in an unlikely place, faith was found, and God healed her daughter. And so, when it comes to those things, lots of points that you can make about faith. One is, just because you don't receive the answer doesn't mean God is hearing you. And the fact that here, Jesus points out faith, it is the desperate times we go through life that actually makes it clear. And I will say this then, if you are going through a difficult time, don't let that go wasted. You know what I mean by that, Vicar? Like, if you're bearing a cross of some variety, don't allow it to just use it as a weakness by which the devil tempted, for example, our Lord. In his hungry and weakness, he sought to get Jesus when he was weak. This is the exact opposite. She was weak, and it was used by God to make her stronger. you see a vast, vast difference between testing, which she faces in this text, and tempting, which the devil does. Here, the testing that Jesus does is for the sake of her faith and for her example of faith to those who are there. The testing is to do the opposite. I preached a sermon on Sunday about how at the heart of temptation is the question of identity. The devil, if you are the Son of God, right after Jesus' baptism, where the Father said, "This is my beloved Son with whom I am well pleased." And here you have the exact opposite. She remembering who Jesus is, what God has promised, that he can heal his daughter, and that he is more powerful than wickedness and evilness, and that he would help her, even if she is not of Israel, and her holding on to that, and God testing her. That's what Jesus is doing, right? People say, well, this might actually make people uncomfortable a little bit, right? Because why is he treating her so rough, right? Well, the same people are also surprised when they have a cross too. Why is this happening to me? Sometimes, when you have surgery, you're going to have some pain before you get better. And sometimes God disciplines us, and it might seem like unkind, but it isn't. And God uses this for the sake of that faith. And her desperate situation did not go unused. If you're going to bear a cross anyways, right? You might as well take it as an opportunity to consider God's word even more clearly. Because the temptation is to go the other direction. So if you, the listener, are going through one of those times, use this text as an example. When God says no to you, or you have a cross that you can see no answer to, all those things, right? Don't let that go without fruit, because it does bear fruit. It refines the gold, and it refines your faith, and you see things differently. And that's exactly what happens here in this gospel reading. I guess you could go back then to the wrestling with God. It made him weaker but stronger at the same time. I have wrestled with God and lived. That wrestling, although it gave him a limp, made him stronger. It was that wrestling with God was not fruitless. And so I think that is especially in Lent, when we think about these things, we think about repentance, we think about suffering, we think about faith and all those things. And the woman's condition is very much a reflection of where we are in Lent. And all that ties together in holding God to his promise in faith, not allowing the crosses that he gives us to bear to drive us away, but rather that we more fervently cling to Christ and his word. And that's all in this text. Vicar, what do you got?
Oh, I have a ton because I love this text, but I won't go into all of it. Just really, if I were preaching this text, I would really take note of the law and the gospel dichotomy you have there. I think sometimes we try to blunt Jesus's law and we try to sort of make it a little easier to swallow. And I don't know that I would do that, because I think oftentimes we do have people who know they're sinners, they know their place before the law, and they do feel like dogs before a holy God. And so I wouldn't want to blunt that as much as I would want to bring that out and say, but look at what she does. She clings to the promise of Christ even through the full weight of the law. She's outside the covenant relationship of the law, and yet she clings to the promise of Christ and holds fast to it.
And for the sake of her daughter.
For the sake of her daughter, right. So I really like that law, that the law in that text hits heavy, and I think a lot of people feel that way more often than sometimes we realize.
We did just read a text where someone wrestled with God.
Right. Yeah. And that wrestling idea is kind of the same thing. You wrestle with God because he does it. The law is his. He brings the law. He preaches the law, and you wrestle with him and you hold him to his promises even while he's preaching the law.
It's interesting. someone who really, really understood this well is Martin Luther. If you ever read some of his pastoral letters, like someone going through some tough times, and he doesn't mince words and saying things like, well, you're a sinner. What do you expect? That kind of thing.
Right.
While being loving, but he doesn't pull back either,
A good German practicality.
Right. Well, Peter, we have lots of email for us to go through. I'm not sure if we'll get it through all today, but maybe that's why I'm so happy today, Vickers. We got a bunch of email. All right.
Yeah, we got a bunch. So we got an email from Philip giving us the sad news that one of the founding members of Cake is no longer with us.
Oh.
He hasn't been with the band since 97, but he is one of the original members.
Well, we'll have to give Cake some flowers today.
We talked about it a little bit. Did you want to go through any more? This email from Anonymous about whether tobacco and nicotine is a sin, the use of?
Yeah, we could talk about that. Yeah. All right. So, Vicar, what's your tobacco and nicotine? Now, I think you could make some separation there, right? Because, there is a difference between tobacco and nicotine a little bit.
Yeah.
One, it probably has some more dire health complications.
Right. Forgetting the example I was thinking of, but obviously nicotine is both of them, but only tobacco has everything that goes along with it. So
Right. So obviously, I would say you want to have a balanced approach, right? And when you have a question of, is it a sin? You can start with two places, really. And I actually sometimes think it's easier to start with love the Lord your God with all your heart, soul, and strength, and love your neighbor as yourself first, and then go to the 10 Commandments. Okay? And so that's when every time you think, okay, is it a sin or is it not a sin? You go to those. That's a first place you go, while also maintaining the understanding that there is Christian freedom.
Mm-hmm.
And so on the one hand, you might say, well, the Bible doesn't talk about tobacco use, right?
Mm-hmm.
But what does it talk about? Well, your body is a temple of the Lord, right? But the temple had incense. So what do you do with that, Vicar?
Right, yeah.
So let's start with love the Lord your God with all your heart, soul, and strength. Okay? I don't know how much of this applies here. I would say if you're talking in terms of addiction, okay, any kind of addiction, we were talking about heroin earlier, right? That becomes many addictions can become God to people. Anyone who's suffering from a severe addiction, it rewires their brain to think whatever they're addicted to becomes the most important thing. Now, does that apply to nicotine? Well, I think I would say I'm addicted to caffeine, right? Yeah, I probably have about 600 grams a day, and then I wonder why I can't sleep. I'm not sure. But is that addiction? Yeah. Do I feel like that maybe it's showing a complete disrespect for my body? I don't know about that, right? So you start with there. If it's talking about strict addiction, I would say that when it comes to nicotine, there are drugs where I do believe it becomes very strongly a god, where people they will do anything and family becomes less important than the drug. Every situation becomes less important than the drug. And if you want a prime example of one of the most fiercest way that you can have another god is strong addiction to chemicals would be probably right at there at the top of the list of seeing how that plays out and how destructive that is and how it can become a god. And anyone who's struggled or had someone in their family struggle with this can see it clearly, how someone will be willing to betray everyone in their life just to keep, really to get some relief from their addiction. So one thing I always tell my confirmation kids that the best thing you can do when it comes to drugs is just, what was my line? When was the last time you ever heard someone say, I am sure glad I started smoking meth? You don't hear that. Right. All right. So when it comes to that aspect of it, love the Lord your God with all your heart, soul, and strength. I'm not sure how much nicotine or tobacco play in that. Okay. Unless, if you're showing it in a way that is, we have to, I think something we consider in both of these is use and abuse. Right? Mm-hmm. Right. So that's one aspect of it. And I would say there's lots of nicotine, which is basically formulated so that you can, right?
Mm-hmm.
Right. So like if someone likes to have a Zyn once in a while, that someone should probably make sure they don't have it every day, maybe once a week, something like that. Isn't bad. My estimation, in fact, I know someone who talked to the doctor and the doctor was concerned about that. So, someone very close to me, keeping my seat warm. Anyways,
but it's still better to not do it.
Yes.
And it's better
is that something that now this is where other commandments can come in, right? Right. Actually, tobacco and nicotine could have a sixth commandment issue. Right? If you're doing something that is harmful to your body so that you can cause strain on a marriage, for example, right? Or people will argue about that. Like if someone is addicted to smoking cigarettes or something, can that be detrimental to a marriage? Oh, most certainly. Right. Other commandments, you shall not kill, right? Hurt or harm your neighbor in his body, and the neighbor you're talking about is yourself, right? You also can think of things like bearing false witness, where you could, in a sense, be not bearing false witness, but I'm thinking that it could be something that is a scandal to other people that you don't want to avoid. You don't want to have your Christian freedom, but if it is something where people have struggled with it or bother with it, or, you have someone who died from lung cancer or something because they smoked, there should be sensitivity to that as well. But I do think that it is important to remember nowadays where people do struggle with harming themselves in lots of different ways that sometimes this can play a role. So I think, if I were as a pastor and if this was brought to me, I would have to take each individual, right?
Yeah.
Because I think that having a cigar once in a while with my boys, with Vicar, right? That's good for me, right? Right. That's my fondest memory. The things to do is to sit outside with my boys and have a cigar, right? Am I worried that they're going to get addicted to cigars? No, I'm not, right? You're using Christian freedom for that. But I would say at the same time, a lot of the things that when it comes to tobacco or nicotine are designed specifically to drive you to addiction. And, at some point, I can see how sometimes that some tobacco isn't like bad. It's using, God's gifts, but at the same time, like pouring, because that could get expensive, lots of money into it is not really taking care of what God has given you either. So that is how, many of these things are not as cut as dry as we wish them to be.
Mm-hmm.
And you just can't go with, well, it could lead to things, therefore it's sin, because that's exactly what the Pharisees were doing.
Mm-hmm.
And that's not good either. So that is kind of how, if it's, I don't think tobacco is something where you get like mind altering or anything like that either. So what are your feelings? What are your, not feelings, feelings don't matter. What is your understanding of this discussion?
I treat it the same way that I treat beer and alcohol, right? And coming from a bit more southern than an Iowa area, we have a little more Baptist and we have a little bit more hesitation towards alcohol. And so I always try to be careful. What company am I keeping if I were to drink, right? So the same thing is true of tobacco. If I'm keeping company with somebody that I know doesn't agree with tobacco, doesn't like tobacco, then absolutely by no means would I ever want to smoke around them. But as a just general rule, like you said, it's kind of hard to.
Yeah, I would say, like smoking a pack a day of cigarettes is sinful.
Right.
That's really harming your body.
Mm-hmm. Right.
But we also do all sorts of things that harm our body.
Right. I mean, just like if drinking a 6-pack every day is not going to be good for you, but drinking 1 or 2 a week, probably not harmful, right? It comes down to sort of, are you causing someone else to sin by what you're doing? Do you have somebody who is addicted to nicotine over there and you're smoking around them not caring? That is sinful.
Right. And there's a vocation matters too.
Right.
If you're a father or a husband, and you're the provider of your family and they need you, you want to be as healthy as you can for them.
Right.
Right. So, but I don't know, as far as biblical, didn't talk much about just strong wine and that kind of thing you hear. And
right.
Drunkard and that kind of thing, which doesn't really apply to this. So I guess, that is your answer. Is it a sin? Listener, if we left something about that question that you want completely answered, let us know. If you're using this to talk to your wife about wanting to have a cigar once in a while, that's on you, man. We're just answering the question. Don't put me behind this, Anonymous. Don't put this on me, bro. Remember, I'm ready to fight.
All right. We got an email from Zach, and Zach says, "Hi, Bullhagen and Vicar. It's the start of Lent, so I want to give you a word of encouragement. I appreciate the podcast and how it balances real people, real conversation, and taking real substantive looks at all the texts. It helps us take the gospel seriously, but not take ourselves too seriously." He gets it.
He gets it, yeah.
It is also great to hear year after year as vicars grow into the podcast role after a few months of repeatedly being on air with Bullhagen. He does have here a list of potential future topics to bring in. So he says what to write in the margins of your Bible and pros and cons of journaling Bibles. Things every first-year seminarian wishes they knew, from both Pastor and Vicar. What are the best books you've read lately? And what Bible study topics have been exciting?
All right. That's a good one. I've been actually enjoying when it comes to the Bible study, I've been enjoying my prophets. So what I've been trying to do is, it's really easy to get so lost in a prophet Bible study, right?
Mm-hmm.
Especially if a vicar said, "Oh, I'm going to do a Bible study on Isaiah," that's what you would do for the year.
Oh, I wouldn't finish. Yeah.
Right. So what I've been doing is taking the prophets and taking a minor one and kind of going through it in 1 day, 1 hour, and taking a major prophet maybe 3 times, go through the major themes to help us understand it. Just so that, I think we can get so deep into one prophet that, you have trouble seeing the forest from the trees, so to speak. So I've been really enjoying, like today we went through Zephaniah in one time. That was kind of fun. And with that, then, when you go through it quickly, I've been enjoying how it gives you a chance then to compare and see the prophets in relation to the others. And there's a lot of conclusions from that you can see going through it. So I've been really enjoying that, where, we went through Jonah one day. They're all swimming in my head. We did 3 for Jeremiah, 3 through Isaiah. Habakkuk we did in a day. And just doing that, because I think it gives you an interesting view of the prophets. What do you think about that, Vicar?
I think it's good. It kind of actually mimics what we do in seminary. So whenever we're going through the prophets.
Okay. Very good. So I guess that's one thing I've enjoyed. I would say a good tactic to do is, as a pastor, it's really good to think about what your own weaknesses are and things you don't know, and then force yourself to teach a Bible study on it so that you can, for your own sake, because what that does is it kind of pairs your own study, and it forces you to study things and prepare for things that you may be a weaker point. So it's like a 2 birds, 1 stone type of thing. You're teaching and you're growing and you're learning, which is an important part of that too. So that's another aspect that I appreciate doing. Recently, a couple of years, maybe a year and a half ago, 2 years ago, I did one here in Hampton about closed communion, and took about 3 or 4 times to do that. And I did a presentation actually at Bethlehem too, obviously, because it became a podcast, my notes for that episode. But that was kind of fun. And you could talk about this, Vicar, because you were there. What I liked about it and appreciate about the kind of the setting is, what did you were at that discussion. What can you take from that? And what did you learn about how you can talk about things that are helpful? Because like close communion, people get very emotional about it, and it can be tough. What do you think about that discussion? Because I guess the podcast kind of heard an overview of what I talked about, a little bit shorter, but because I didn't have any questions here to discuss on the podcast, but the approach and how people's questions were answered, and how I think it was a good time to talk about it in a way that you could take the temperature down a little bit and actually have an honest and frank conversation that is helpful, where you have to take a moment to understand where people are coming from. You just can't say, this is what the Bible teaches, get over it. You have to take the time to really see why it is that people are wrestling with it, and reflect that, yes, this might actually have you make a hard discussion with someone. And I understand that it doesn't make it easier necessarily, but if you show that kind of understanding and not just say, this is the way it is, and if you don't get it, you don't like the Bible. You have to show what the teaching says from the Bible, but then also you have to do in a way that they'll hear it and recognize, what is it that causes people consternation about this. So I just asked you a very long question, Vicar.
I don't think I'll get to every point of your question, but as far as the benefit of something like that, how do you even put words to how helpful it is when you can explain to somebody something and they know that you care about them, right? They know that you're listening to them and you're not just standing over them talking at them. In a setting like that is really important, because you're taking time out of your day. You're going to them with the intention to listen to what they have to say and respond to it.
Right. So in preparation for this, I said, please, bring your questions.
Mm-hmm.
Bring your concerns. Let's talk about it.
Right.
Because I want you to know this and to grow. And there's kind of a method to my madness too, and saying, oh, I'm going to make pizza for it, my homemade pizza.
Yeah.
Come and have pizza and we'll talk about this. That too. I wouldn't say it's like something I use to like manipulate. No, I care about them, and I wanted to make that discussion welcome and in a Lutheran way, right?
Mm-hmm.
And I think that too helps people understand you're coming from a good place by like serving them homemade pizza.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. It just, when you have that relationship that they know that you're listening to them and you actually care about them and want the best for them. I mean, you're already starting from third base at that point.
Right.
So
what were some of the points that you thought were most helpful? Like, I don't know if you can remember, but I kind of appreciated, I thought what was important was the fact that we talked about how do you talk to others about that?
mm-hmm.
Put them in that situation. And when you're talking to someone, one thing you have to make sure when you're talking to someone about close communion that you're not offended by yourself.
Right. Yeah.
So I guess I had fun teaching that, listener. All right, there's another part of that question, Vicar, or Peter, for you.
Yeah, so we'll hit more of those questions, I think, in a later episode as we're coming up on time here. But Zach also says in this email, and now to Peter, the producer, this is why I opened up and started writing this email. I trust your take on tech, so help me evaluate OpenClaw. It sounds like it might strike a good balance from being an executive assistant, but being self-hosted could take away data safety concerns. What, if any, recommends do you have in the personal assistant / schedule email reminders text space? All the best, Zach. So Zach wants to know my kind of off topic, I suppose, but still, here we are. It's what I do, AI.
You're a tech guy.
For people who don't know what Zach is talking about here, OpenClaw it's basically a way to call AI agents and then have AI agents call other AI agents. It's the first time somebody's done it in this specific way, but it's not a new idea. And Zach, I have bad news and good news. The bad news is I don't know much about OpenClaw, to be honest with you. I've watched a few videos, but it hasn't interested me yet because my take on OpenClaw and the executive assistant AI stuff is that it ends up being a lot of human setup to do the things you want it to do. And at a certain point, if you're doing all of that human setup, there are usually better tools than an LLM to get done what you want to get done. The best part of OpenClaw, from what I can tell, is that you can hook it up to your WhatsApp or your Telegram and talk to it, and like it's another person, you can text it. But most of the other stuff is kind of it's been done. And the other thing about OpenClaw is all of the skills that they have, where you can tell your AI to do things. It'll go to OpenClaw and grab a skill and say, this is how you go do that thing. But it turns out like a majority of those skills are malicious and just steal information or data. Because the whole thing was vibe coded with AI to begin with, and it wasn't set up competently.
So it's AIception. It's AI making AI.
Yeah, the creator has proudly said that he didn't write a single line of code. So all around, I would say skip it for now. Do I have any recommendations in the personal assistant, schedule, email, reminders, text space? Legitimately, I personally, for my personal stuff, I just use Google Assistant, not even Gemini. I tell it to remind me things and put things on my calendar and stuff. And that works just fine for my needs. And then at work, I use the Microsoft Stack, which works fine as well. OpenClaw also, by the way, it sounds like it's being self-hosted for data safety. Most of those folks are using API keys to big models as well. So most people aren't actually using it locally, and the local models, unless you've got really good hardware, isn't good enough to really do anything. So for now, I'm excited for the future. I hope in a few months' time that this changes and there's a new OpenClaw that is better and safer. But for now, I recommend skipping it and kind of ignoring it for now.
Yes, I would use TikTok's AI assistant instead. That's what I would do. Any suggestions, Peter?
Does
Or
TikTok-
Vicar? Excuse me.
Does TikTok have an AI?
I don't know.
Probably.
The only thing I know about
It's not intelligence. It's artificial ignorance.
Yeah.
the only thing I know about OpenClaw, wasn't it the thing that like everybody was thinking that the AIs were taking over their own social media and like there's a big. Did you hear anything about that?
Yeah,
Peter?
that was part of it. So part
Okay.
of OpenClaw, they had a skill that they could upload to a AI only version of Reddit, basically. And some of it was pretty funny. I'm not gonna lie to you. Some of it
I
was
laughed
pretty
at some of
funny.
the memes.
Because one of the things you do as part of the setup for OpenClaw is you give your AI a soul file to tell it how to act, basically, and what its motivations are and yada yada yada. So there were some of them that was like Obama bot. It was just like, yeah, you are President Obama.
So, actually, I do actually have a thought about this, believe it or not. Okay. You surprised, Peter? So, one of my issues with AI is the fact that there's no responsibility behind it. Meaning, like, when you do something, it gives you the opportunity to say, well, it was just the AI that said this or did this. And it's kind of like being able to do things anonymously on steroids a little bit, if that makes any sense to you.
It does make sense, but in most of the time in the real world, when stuff like that happens, the person who was in charge of it is the person that's in trouble for it. Because if the AI does something that it shouldn't have done and screws everything up, the person that didn't put the guards in place, the things that were supposed to stop it before it did that thing, that it's your problem.
Right.
I was just reading today, there was a guy who gave OpenClaw access to his Gmail, and then the AI he had hooked up started deleting every single email in his inbox that was older than 2 weeks because it was out of space. And he kept trying to tell the AI, no, please don't do that, and the AI just kept doing it. And he had to like run across his house to his Mac and unplug it so it would stop.
Wow. See, this is how the world ends.
Artificial intelligence.
Right. Yep. That's what's going to set off the nuclear bombs.
Many such examples. There's definitely been Anthropic has had a few of those where.
But the other thing is, the more you layer AI on top of AI, the more you're making copies of copies of copies of information, and the less and less it's actually new information.
I mean, in this context, in some ways that's true, but in a lot of ways it's not too. It's less like a copy of a copy and more like a master AI and his employees.
Okay.
So Vicar isn't necessarily a copy of you.
No.
He is lesser.
Hold on, pause.
But he's just the guy that you make do things,
Got
he's
it.
his own guy.
Well, I think that brings us to the close
Hopefully that
of our
wasn't
show.
too boring.
No.
I feel like
I'm
going to
make a top 12 list on it. I really keep up
great.
with that. I use Facebook's AI. It's really good.
Yeah.
Yeah. All right. That brings us to the end of the show. It's been a fun one, Vicar.
Mm-hmm.
Been a fun one, Pete. Thank you for listening. This is Bullhagen.
This is Vicar.
And may your open claw be a white claw.
Thank you for joining us. This podcast is available on iTunes, Google Play, Spotify, or wherever else you get your podcasts. Questions, thoughts, concerns? You can contact us on Facebook at facebook.com/Clerical Errors Podcast, on Twitter @ClericalErrorsP for podcast, or email us at feedback@clericalerrors.org. Thanks for listening to Clerical Errors. See you next time.